Hi ladies, today's video is titled, Why Won't He Marry Me? This video is for women in long-term relationships with a man who will just not propose or will not agree to marriage when the conversation comes up. I'm not speaking to women who've been dating for 2, 3 months, a couple of months. I'm speaking to those of you in long-term relationships. The scenario is usually something like this. We've been together for years. We get along. He says he loves me and he doesn't end the relationship, but he won't marry me. Why won't he marry me? And the short answer is he doesn't want to. And we're going to discuss two reasons why he may not want to and what you should do about it. But first, let's discuss men in general. Men are creatures of incentive. They they go to work in dangerous professions like the oil fields or firefighting, but they don't go just for fun. They go to get a paycheck and to come home to the woman they love and support their families. So, good men get satisfaction in doing that. With all difficult things that men do, there needs to be an incentive. And this brings me to point number one. Point number one is that it is possible that you have made things too easy for him. If you have made it too easy for him, he won't marry you because he doesn't have to. There is no incentive for him to do so if you are already, as a girlfriend, providing him with all the benefits of marriage. God created marriage between man and woman, and when both parties commit to God's design for marriage, both parties have numerous blessings. God created marriage for our protection. His ways are perfect. Both parties benefit from marriage because it's a good gift from God. Now, this is not a complete list, but here are some ways in which men benefit from marriage. Number one, in marriage, men get a helpmeet. They get someone to love and encourage them, someone to help them in life. Number two, men get a companion. God made Adam, a perfect man in a perfect place called the Garden of Eden. And even though Adam was in perfection, God saw him and said, "It is not good for a man to be alone." That's Genesis 2:18. And so God made Eve. God made Eve for Adam because men need companionship. So that's number two, they get a companion. Number three is sex. Sex was designed by God for marriage between man and woman. So in marriage, men are supposed to get sex. Number four, children. In marriage, men get someone to birth and nurture children. And God commanded us as well in Genesis to be fruitful and multiply. And the fifth benefit is nurturing. Women nurture men and children. We make meals. We turn a house into a home. So in marriage, men also get the benefit of our nurturing nature. Of that list that I just went over, if you're providing most or all of these things to a man, then he's getting the benefits of marriage without offering you the commitment and protection of marriage. Just like, just like men get benefits in marriage, we get benefits too. But when you provide the things on this list to a man who is not your husband, it's a one-way street. He's getting all the benefits and giving you none because you either live with your parents who are providing for you when he should, or you pay your own bills and take care of yourself and the home while receiving no commitment from him. You've provided a comfortable life for him where he gets companionship, love, encouragement, nurturing, sometimes sex, and sometimes even children without him giving commitment to you in return. So, why would he marry you if he's getting all these things without having to offer commitment? If your parents are paying the bills or you're working and paying your own bills, why would he leave a situation that is benefiting him completely without costing him anything? If your boss just sent you a check in the mail without checking whether you showed up to work or not, how many people do you think would actually show up to work? Only honest and honorable people would do that. Most people would take the check and not work. Most people need the incentive. Most people need to have an incentive in order to show up to work. And you've provided him no incentive to marry you by freely giving him all the benefits of marriage without marriage being in place. Point number two. Here's another reason he's not marrying you, even if you're not providing the benefits of marriage, like we just discussed in point number one. And I bring point number two with love because I hear from a lot of women in their 30s or even their 40s who wasted too much time on men who didn't marry them and they wish someone had told them earlier. But point number two, another reason why a man who's been dating you for years won't marry you is because he doesn't love you despite what he says. Love is an action. Biblical definitions of love always point to action, not just feelings or words. In the Bible, we see love always manifested in action. In Jesus, we see the greatest act of love when he died for the sins of the world and he made no excuses. If a man keeps making excuses for not marrying you, he just doesn't love you. When a man really loves you, nothing will stop him. He will give his all for you because he feels that you're this prize that everyone wants. He feels like he has to snatch you up right away before someone else does. If he doesn't have a sense of urgency, he doesn't really love you. He's comfortable. He loves what you provide for him, but he doesn't really love you. Let's look at biblical characters to see how far they went when they wanted to marry a woman. Okay. Let's look first at David and Michal. In the Bible, David married Michal. She was Saul's daughter. David was a poor shepherd boy, and he was intimidated by the thought of becoming the king's son in law. Remember, back in those days, a young man would present a dowry to the future father in law. Sometimes he would bring a gift or money or livestock or land. David didn't have any of those things because he was, in his own words, a poor and lightly esteemed man. That's in First Samuel chapter 18, verse 23. David calls himself a poor and lightly esteemed man. So he had nothing to offer Saul. No livestock, no land, no money, nothing. Now Saul, hoping that David would die in battle, he didn't ask for a normal dowry, but he asked David to instead bring him 100 Philistine foreskins. In other words, David had to kill 100 Philistines and bring Saul their foreskins as a gift. And David accepted and brought not 100 foreskins, he brought Saul 200 Philistine foreskins. In other words, David went to war for his bride. He demonstrated courage and determination in order to marry the woman he loved. The second example is Jacob and Rachel. Jacob loved Rachel and wanted to marry her, and he was also at the same time working for her father Laban. Laban offered to pay Jacob for his work, and Jacob declined. Jacob offered, without being asked, to serve Laban in exchange for Rachel's hand. And I'm going to read this verse straight from the Bible. It is in Genesis 29, and I'm beginning in verse 18. Now Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your youngest daughter. And after he served the 7 years, the Bible tells us, and I quote, they seemed only a few days to him because of the love he had for her. So Jacob served his father-in-law 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed only like a few days to him because of the love he had for her. In the end, Laban ended up tricking Jacob, and on his wedding night to Rachel, he actually got Leah. So after confronting his father-in-law, the father-in-law told him, "Fine, I'll give you Rachel too, but you have to work for me another 7 years." So in total, Jacob ended up working a total of 14 years for the woman he loved. 14 years of labor for his father-in-law. In summary, neither of these men made excuses. They both displayed courage, self denial, and determination. In doing so, they demonstrated their love for the woman they married. If a man is willing to waste your time and enjoy the benefits of marriage, including, hopefully not, but maybe fornicating with you, and that same man refuses to marry you, then he doesn't love you. If a man is willing to sin with you and won't honor you with marriage, then he's not demonstrating biblical love. Biblical love is sacrifice. Biblical love is described in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. This verse gives us a glimpse of the type of love a husband is called to demonstrate to his wife. And I'm going to start reading the verse directly for you. It says, "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word, that he might present her to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy and without blemish." So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So, if a man has used you for years, he has used you for companionship, sex, or all of the benefits we just discussed above, all while refusing to marry you, do you really think he'll be the type of husband described in Ephesians? Does that sound to you like a man who will die for you just as Christ died for his church? Does that sound like a man who will keep you holy and without blemish? The standards for husbands are very high. They have to love us, they have to sacrifice for us, they have to die for us, and they have to preserve us in holiness, just as Christ does for the church. A man who takes from you without committing to marriage won't do that. I also want to add something that's not in my notes, and it's that it's an incredibly selfish thing for a man to do to waste your time, because women and men are not on the same biological clock. For a man who has wasted all of his youth and decides someday in his 40s or mid 40s or even 50s to start over, he can actually do that. He can go and find a 25-year-old and get married and have children, and everything will be perfectly fine for him. And in fact, I have heard from younger women that they actually prefer an older man because he's more established. He doesn't want to play games anymore. He knows what he wants, and he can provide her with a home and a family. But on the other hand, if you're a woman and you waste your time on a man in your 20s or even your 30s, and if you wake up at 40 or 45 and decide that you want to have children, it's just not going to be as easy for you as it is for a 45-year-old man. So I don't think a man who's wasting your time, knowing the biological consequences of that, I don't think that's an Ephesians type of man who's going to die for you like Christ died for the church. And so this brings me to my next point. What should you do if you're in this type of relationship where a man is just wasting your time? And the answer is you have to leave. Even if he says he loves you, you have to leave this man, because love is an action. And if he calls himself a godly man, if he calls himself a Christian, but he's fornicating with you, he's living with you, he's taking from you, and not honoring you in marriage, then he's not just a fornicator, but he's a liar. And it doesn't matter what comes out of his mouth. It doesn't matter if he pretends to be a Christian. If it doesn't matter if he tells you he comes from a Christian family. It doesn't matter if his mom comes to your house crying, telling you what a good man, what a good Christian he is. She's lying, and he's lying too, and you're wasting your time, and you're sacrificing um, a good standing before God, because if you're fornicating with him, then you're living in sin. And so I hope that you turn away from that, that you understand who you are in Christ, that Christ is a man who loved you enough to die for you while you were still in your sins, and that you would trust God to protect you and provide a godly husband for you if that is his will. Seek the things of God first, and God will work out the rest later. It's normal to worry about marriage and relationships, but for the Christian, God comes first. And remember, a man who truly wants you, a man who truly wants to honor you with marriage, he will go to battle for you. If he hasn't, it's because he doesn't want to. And it's time to get your focus back and give your heart to God so he can redirect you. Ask God for wisdom in choosing a man, and a godly man for marriage. And I'll leave you with this verse for encouragement from the book of James, chapter 1, verse 5. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. Until next time.